Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Defazzio, and I am President and CEO of Circle of Friends Services. Circle of Friends Services is an outpatient, not-for-profit mental health clinic in Central Florida, and we provide services to families and children in the child welfare system. And in recent years, we have begun to provide services to families and children who are going through the experience of adoption. Part of why we got into this particular specialty was because we began to see that adoptions in Florida were dissolving at an alarming rate, and that adoptive parents very often went into adoptions with some pretty unrealistic expectations about what their adoptive children were going to be like. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why does my adoptive child act like this? One of the most frequently asked questions that our therapists get from adoptive parents, or that I get when I'm talking to adoptive parents, is why does my child act like this? My child does not act like I acted when I was that age. My child doesn't act like my biological children acted at that age. My child seems sort of disconnected from me. I thought he would be more appreciative when he came to my home, and I provided him with wonderful experiences in a beautiful bedroom, and we took him to Disney. I thought he would be more appreciative. He doesn't seem to understand that we love him, and we don't understand why. So today we're going to talk about the why, and we're going to talk about what you can do as adoptive parents to help your child get through this and help your child begin to attach to you as his adoptive family. Before we start, let me say to you that everything your child is doing is normal. There's nothing that your child is doing, haven't experienced the early experiences that these children have, that is abnormal for an abused and neglected child. One of the things that we have seen is that children who come into the child welfare system usually have experienced some very early years of neglect and abuse. And let's think about what happens in the first 3 years of life. Think about what happened to you in the first 3 years of your life, or your biological children in the first 3 years of your life. Those were the years when you learned that there was an adult caretaker out there that was going to be consistent, kind, and was going to provide care for you. And what did you learn from this? You learned how to attach to a caring figure. Our children in the foster care system have not had that experience. And I'm going to use my little baby here to demonstrate some of what actually happens. Think about your child when you brought your biological children home from the hospital. You held your baby and your baby cried. Your baby cried and you nursed him. Your baby cried or her, you changed him or her, you fed him or her, you took care of this baby. And this baby gradually began to see that every time he had a need, you would reach out and care for him. Think about children who have grown up in the adoptive foster care system. A child who has come into care in the first 3 years of life, and many of your children have in the foster care system, do not have this relationship with a caring person. If anything, we have children in our foster care system whose parents were on drugs, whose parents were drunk or fighting with each other, who were experiencing extreme mental health issues. Those children cried and nobody came. These are the children that we have in foster care. These are the children that do not see adults as particularly caring, nurturing people. And this is what happens when you grow up in the foster care system. We have come to understand that 85% of everything we learn in life, we learn in babyhood. We learn in the first 3 years of life. We learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to crawl, we learn to roll over, not necessarily in that order. We learn how to do all kinds of cognitive things, but mostly we learn that there is an adult caretaker out there that we can go away from and come back to. We can have safety and security with that adult caretaker. Children in foster care do not have that attachment figure. So what do we have to do about it? You, as adoptive parents, must first recognize that this is not a deficit in your child, and it's not a deficit in your adoptive family if a child comes into your home and expects nothing from you. If a child comes into your home and doesn't say thank you for the new bedroom, and doesn't say thank you for the new clothes, and doesn't say thank you for the vacation, they expect nothing from adults. They do not expect adults to be kind and consistent caretakers. It does not mean that there's anything wrong with the child, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you as an adoptive family. What it means is that you have to understand the early experiences that this child has had and the effect it now has on his ability to reach out and trust that if he comes to you for help, you're going to be there. So what do? What I typically say to parents is, you adopt your child at 12. It took him 12 years to get this way, and it may take him more than 12 days to get out of it. You, the adoptive parent, need to be the agent of change here. You need to be the one to say, I am going to be consistent with you, I am going to be kind to you, I'm going to meet your needs, and I'm going to keep you safe. And how do you do that? It isn't complicated. You don't need initials after your name. You don't need to be a PhD. You need to know that you must be consistent in caretaking with your child. It is incredibly important that the things that you do are consistent. If you think of a child who has lived in an environment perhaps where he didn't have a bed, or parents didn't feed him regularly, or no one paid any attention to his medical or dental needs, certainly nobody paid any attention to what he was doing in school, he doesn't expect any of this from you. So you have to be able to build some of those attachment activities, and they can be very simple. You can say to your child, okay, every Wednesday we're going to plan dinner together. Let's plan it as a family. Every Friday afternoon, let's make chocolate chip cookies together. Let's read a book together on Tuesday night. You need to plan activities that you can do with your child as a family, and then you have to follow through. You can't say, I'm too tired tonight, honey, I don't feel like reading that story. You may not do that. You have to be consistent, you have to be kind, and you have to teach your child that you are always going to be there for him, just as somebody was there for you and taught you that you were worthy of love. And this is the most important concept for adoptive children, that a baby who comes into the world with a kind and caring caretaker knows that he or she is worthy of love. Your child has to learn that, and you have to teach it to your child. So be consistent, be kind, set up caretaking routines. Most of all, lower your expectations about how fast this is going to be. Be patient with your child, be kind to your child, understand that he or she did not have the upbringing that you had, didn't have the consistent caretaking relationships that you had, and it may take a while for trust to be built. But you can do it. You can do it without the help of therapists, although we're happy to help you, but you can do it if you just understand that this is the deficit we're dealing with, is a lack of caretaking in the early years, and you can be the person to build that bridge back up between you and your child. So thank you for listening. I hope that some of these remarks are helpful to you. Remember that nothing that's happening here is abnormal, and you are the agent of change and you can fix it. So I wish you luck. Thank you.